Yo, today we're gonna discuss whether you should make the switch to controlling Warzone or not. To answer the question right away, yes, I think it's worth it, but only for certain players. So I personally would say if you never had a controller in your hands in your entire life, then I wouldn't recommend switching to controller. But if you already have a good amount of controller experience, like in other games like, I don't know, Fortnite, Apex, or the good old Call of Duty days, then definitely try to switch a controller, especially when you're trying to be as good as you can be in Warzone. Okay, let's talk about the positive things about using a controller. The first thing that comes to mind is 100% aim assist. As we all know, the biggest reason why keyboard and mouse player even consider switching to controller is not because of the movement or something like that, it's genuinely because of aim assist. There are just so many clips where you see that aim assist is simply too strong, especially if you see certain Warzone player like Aiden, Biffle, or clips like this.
Oh my god! I'm not gonna lie, that shit almost makes me puke. Like, I'm not even trying to be toxic, that shit makes me puke.
Secure area.
Wow, this guy, look at that. I bet it was rotational aim assist. Ready? It's gonna pull to the right. I knew it! Oh my god, aim assist is so fucking broken. It's so crazy.
They are literally abusing rotational aim assist. No wonder people think that controller is overpowered. Also, when you consider that 99% of all Warzone pros are using a controller, so for me that just means that controller has to be the better input in Warzone at least. But I completely understand the argument when controller players say that keyboard and mouse player can use their whole entire arm. I personally have been using controller for years and I've been relatively good at it, and that's why I found the switch to controller much easier than many others. Since I started playing on Warzone controller, I noticed that my aim is much more consistent than on keyboard, especially in close range gunfights. Even on long range gunfights, I get a good amount of aim assist with controller. Even when it comes to movement, I have to say that it's much easier to learn good movement with a controller than keyboard. Generally, mechanically speaking, controller just feels way better as an input in Warzone than fucking keyboard. But I have to say that it's not that easy to switch to controller, especially if you don't have a good amount of control experience, but it's definitely possible. For example, I started with a simple standard PS4 controller and I used the bumper jumper tactical layout, but to get even better, I learned how to play claw because I didn't want to spend $200 on a scuff controller. It only took me like 2 weeks to get used to controller and 1 week to get used to playing claw. If I can do it in like 4 weeks, then everyone can do it, even if it takes you a little bit longer. It will be worth it. That's all I have to say. Just fucking switch the controller.